Well, hi. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Okay, a little bit different this morning. The music is different, right? Well, here's the thing that way back when I started this show, I bought the rights to the theme music that I was using. Well, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know whether the original rights holder sold it to somebody else or something, but now we're getting complaints that I no longer have the rights to use that. So, and I am a big believer in copyright laws. Anybody that talks to me about doing podcasts, I say you need to be very, very careful with it. And now this is just not a fight that I want to tackle. So we'll just use something different. What do you think? And as of right now, I'm trying out some different things. I believe I have the rights to anything that I use. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But I'm starting to get all of these warnings about it. So, yeah, that one's going to be gone. And we're just going to play around and find something out new and see what happens. You know, speaking of something new, spoke with the good folks at the Mile Away, and they've decided that they're going to rename the upstairs portion of what they have going on out there. And they are asking for your input. I saw it on social media. So if you're not following the Mile Away on social media, you should, because that's where you're going to find out all the latest goings on of what it is that they're doing. So just search for them on Facebook, on Instagram, and across the social media platforms, and you'll find the specials there. If they've got special events coming up, you'll find them there as well. And now they're looking for a new name for the upstairs portion of the Mile Away. It's kind of cool. It's a cool space too. And I know that Lori's poured a ton of work into what's going on out there, along with Charles and Jess. And I'm a big supporter of a small family businesses. You know that, and that's what they are. So follow them and come up with some different ideas. I told Lori yesterday that you should call it Flynn's. That's from the movie Tron. You remember Tron? Well, there's a new Tron movie coming out on October 10th, which, by the way, is my birthday. So, you know, if you want to beat the crowds for shopping, get out there and do it now. But it's the third installment of the movie franchise Tron. And it's Flynn's was the name of the arcade that was in it. And I thought, yeah, that'd be cool. You should call it Flynn's. I don't know if it's copyrighted or not. Here we're going back to a copyright conversation again. Coming up today, we are going to visit with Dave Zimmerman. He's the Council Bluffs market president for Availa Bank. And we're going to talk about everything that's going on right now in Council Bluffs, including some of the election news. And again, we don't talk specific about politics. That's not it. It's more about people being willing to serve for political office in town. And that, I think, is very important. Of course, yesterday you saw one of the mayoral candidates, Chris Peterson. We're inviting all of the candidates on. We've had a lot of city council candidates that have already been on the show, have more coming up. So if you are running for office, mayor or city council, and you haven't been on the show and would like to be, reach out to me. I'll get you scheduled and would love to be able to have you on. And again, something that I tell all of the candidates, I don't have an axe to grind here. This is not a platform for me to express my political views. I will never do that. I do, however, want to give you, the viewer and the listener, an opportunity to see the candidates for who they are and for what it is that they want to bring to the city. And I'm just a conduit to make that happen. That's it. So hope that you enjoy the interviews that are going to be coming up. And again, Dave Zimmerman, Council Bluffs market president for Availa Bank, talking about a lot of that today on the show. Do you or does someone you love need in-home care? Home Care Advocacy Network helps you maintain your own privacy in your own space while still receiving care and support with a personalized touch. Aging in place is critical for many people, and Home Care Advocacy Network can meet those needs with an understanding that assisted living is best at home. Visit hcan.com/Southwest Iowa to learn more. Now is the perfect time to be getting your furnace checked, and that's why you need to get a hold of AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning in Council Bluffs. And why not get on their service plan, and you can get your entire HVAC system inspected twice a year. So if you go to airservecouncilbluffs.com, that's AIRESERV councilbluffs.com, and you can get signed up there and let Travis and his team come out and make sure that everything is working correctly the way that it should. Checking back in this morning with Dave Zimmerman. He is the Council Bluffs Market President for Availa Bank. Good to see you again, sir, and always great to talk to you.
Yeah, good to see you. How's it going this morning?
It's it's hectic. And as we're recording this, it's a little damp,
Yeah,
but all is that's great. We need the rain, and being busy is always better than the alternative. So
better busy than bored. Yep,
exactly. Speaking of busy, we have a lot going on in the community right now with elections coming up. And I know that a lot of folks know about it, but I don't know that everybody does, that there's a primary leading into the general election in November. And that primary is coming up pretty darn soon.
it is. It is. October 4th is the primary. It's at AL High School from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. And Phil Taylor is moderating that. I don't know. A lot of people in the community know Phil. He, was an executive with Non-Prel and with
Mm-hmm.
the Omaha World Herald. So newspaper background, probably appropriate that he's moderating. But hopefully a great opportunity for anybody in the community to attend and hear from the candidate's mouth, what they're going to bring, what their ideas are, and I think that's super important. I think elections are important, and there's never a high turnout compared to our population size. It doesn't feel so. Anything that can be done to get the word out, I think, is always a good thing.
I'm kind of wondering, though, this year if that might not increase, because I think
Boy,
there's a lot of buzz about this election.
there is more than I can remember going back some time. And and that's good. Even if you're an incumbent, to have a little pressure and keep you on your game is always a good thing. Hear some ideas. Open our minds to different and new ideas. I think that's fine too. So I think it's all good. And so long as the primary focus is let's keep Council Bluffs, growing, getting better, improving, and which I think all of them would like to do. It comes down to strategy, right? Who
Yeah.
believes and who has the best strategy and can execute. So yeah, the more people to look at, the better, and for them to get in a nice forum like this to get their message out, I think is great. Because yeah, I mean primaries are great for that.
Yeah, and I think that we have obviously, with what's happened over the last week, and it uh, with somebody thinking that we need to shut somebody up in an extreme way, and that that has really set all of this in with me. And we've got the public forums coming up with an opportunity to sit down and talk and meet these people. And you've probably seen it on this show that I believe that my purpose here is just to be a conduit for somebody else's voice and to
Right.
let them get their information out so the general public can make up their own mind. And that's what an election is. Does this candidate make sense for me,
Right.
for the direction that I want to see the community go, and go from there? It's not about shouting somebody else down or worse. And we need to listen to each other. And these forums are such a great way to do that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. The Charlie Kirk deal was gosh, it shook my family,
Yeah.
as a lot of families. I mean, my kids were shook. So we took it, as a teaching moment and talked about, you don't have to agree with what somebody is saying, but it's a free country. We have free speech. You should be able to say what you need to without fear of these types of consequences. We have to learn to agree to disagree at times. And that's just the way that it is. And I feel like with social media is so many things that it does that are positive. What we've lost, maybe, I think maybe we, several months ago might even touch on a little bit, but the ability to agree to disagree or have some discussion and banter back and forth. I think that's important. And if we lose that and just try to shout people down and shut people up, then we've lost what America really is and an important part of it. Um, So this is one example in Council Bluffs of having this candidate forum where you can have different ideas and it be okay. The people will vote on if they like that idea or not. But that's an example of free speech that we have or are going to allow in our community and have a forum to do, and that's great. But the whole podcast thing I think is so important for our country too. Just people can talk about what they want to,
That's a
and that should be okay.
You're spot on about that, Dave. That what this medium is that I am now a part of, it's a way to have those conversations. We can go longer form with it. I'm not trying to tighten things up into 2 minutes because I have to hit a rerun of Friends at 7 p.m. It's not that. However long you and I go here today is fine. It's not constrained by time parameters anymore. And by doing that, we can get a lot more out. And it is about having conversations. It's not about preaching. If I ever come across that way, I have failed. It is about learning from each other. And that's why I support this medium so much. That's why I support the people who are doing podcasts in the community, whether they're doing it with me or they're doing it with somebody else. I want to
Right.
support that
Yeah.
because we need more of that. It's not about, you need to listen to my way or political parties or whatever. It's not about that. It's about communicating, and it's about truly learning about each other.
It is. It is. And learning and listening, but the ability to speak and take time to listen is all important. The lessons you think from childhood is God gave you 2 ears for a reason. Listen twice as much as you
Right.
talk, and all those are important. So reminding people those tools, the importance of those, just very basic things, I think, is always a good thing to touch on. I think the whole world was reminded of it this last week, and um, if somebody wants to share a message and you agree with it, you're welcome to agree. If you disagree, you're welcome to disagree. And that's part of it, right? Newspapers were a thing for a long time. You could read the article. Did you agree or disagree? But the beauty of podcasts is you can have that open, live conversation. And I like the format. I think the formats are cool. It's a great way to get different voices out, and for what you're doing in our community, I think it's a great way for a lot of people to get voices. I think because if I remember right, I saw that you were actually creating opportunities for other people to have a podcast about
Right.
things that they are interested in, and you're teaching them, mentoring them, and providing space or whatever for that to occur. So I think it's awesome what you're growing and expanding to do. And he didn't pay me to say any of that, but I think it's cool. What you're doing is I kind of keep an eye on it. So
Well, and thank you for that very much. We've had a couple of new ones that just start. One's already been released. Another one is scheduled to be a launch in November. And I encourage anyone to, reach out and talk if you just want to learn a little bit more. I just had a friend of mine on, and I thought this might actually make a good episode. So we did what we call a podcast consultation. So I was just giving him some backstory. Here's the equipment that you need. Here's some different platforms you can release on, that kind of thing. And so I took that conversation and I made an episode of the show out of it because I thought somebody else might be able to glean some information from this, and hopefully it inspires somebody to start one of their own. And again, whether you use me or not is not the point. The point is we need more of these out there. And I also believe that the small local regional show, which is what this is, that is the untapped potential of podcasting. Everybody looks at Rogan. They look at the other comedians that are going on, or they look at, one of my business podcasts that I watch is Ed Milet, and he has over 1 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. Yeah, it's easy to think that that's the level we want to get to, but this is something that we can support the community with, and we can support our friends and neighbors to be able to let other people know in the area. It's not about, did we get 1 million downloads? Because I'll never see that, but it's okay.
maybe, but yeah, we have lost some local reporting, not intentionally, just by call it technology, but I think with the newspapers, there's a place for the newspapers, but that local flavor and touch, I think, is difficult to have the staff necessary to hit all of the areas that they would
Right.
like to hit, and that's where podcasts can shore that up, and we can talk about what's going on in the community from the people that maybe are even in the mix of it. It's not one line or one paragraph in a news story, which news stories are great, but here you can get in, talk about it at a deeper level, and a variety of other topics too. So I I'm a fan. I think it's here. There's a lot of growth potential for it as well. Um, you can go back and watch episodes too, and I
That's
think
true too. Yeah, this is not appointment listening, as I call it. You don't have to listen at 7:20 on a Thursday morning because that's when they're on the air. You can go back and watch my very first show if you want to. It's all out there.
right, right,
And I talk about it on that show. I don't know what the show's going to be. I have no idea.
yeah,
And I think it's still evolving. It's still shifting into where can we be of the best service. I've got the other show. We're on Morning Coffee right now. I've got the other show called Local Roots, which is designed for the more rural communities. And I got to learn about Hitchcock House over by Lewis, Iowa, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that we had a place here that essentially was a stopping point for the Underground Railroad as slaves that were on their way to Canada to, seek a better life and get away from because we were, Iowa and Missouri were on opposite sides back then. So, they weren't coming all that far and they needed a place to be able to stop. And that's what this place was. And there's so much history right here in Southwest Iowa. And
I did not know
yeah,
that. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to go check it out myself.
yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know. I didn't know until I talked with Joyce, and she was fascinating. And it was, they actually have to shut down for the winter months because the house is not designed to be able to be open during the cold weather. So just different places like that
yeah.
that are right next door that a lot of people aren't even aware that are here, and we can talk about those things.
Well, and maybe this you can spur a bit of a hub of industry or something like that. To I I with the elections coming and things thinking of, I guess, zero going back a little bit, but
Hmm.
um, I think about what does Council Bluffs need to to make those steps into the future? What do we need here? Well, we need the graduating, high school kids when they go back to college, or if they become entrepreneurs and decide not to go to college or whatever it is. We want them to come back and plant their roots here, but they have to have something to do that's a livable wage that they can raise a family on. So we need industry. Maybe podcasting. They talk about was it Silicon Prairie?
Hmm.
Could be the Iowa, Nebraska area. Maybe that's something that Council Bluffs can see. But I've been trying to think, and I haven't figured out yet. But is there a geography? Is there an infrastructure? Is there something that Council Bluffs offers that an industry gives us an industry advantage? Is there a competitive advantage that we can develop that can bring professionals to our community that we can build an industry around? And I don't know that answer, but I think we need to be thinking about what could those be. We're putting up, there is some new business coming. We're putting up warehouses. We're putting up some of those sorts of things, which is great to see. But is there more? Can we do something where somebody come back and say, hey, we've got an employee here that employs 200 or 300 people, and the average salary is $50,000 or $75,000 a year, and there's upper end salaries to choose from, and I think that's the aspirations that we need to start. And I'm sure people are thinking about it, but more thought, more. What is there something even community level we can get multiple folks trying to zero in on and bring some of that to us? And as I say that, somebody's going to watch us and say we are doing that. So I apologize, but it's been top of mind for me here lately. Is what is it that we can really try to aspire to in Council Bluffs and bring that here so that it's ours. And people think of Council Bluffs, Iowa when they come here, and those graduates and those those college students come back
Hmm.
and know that I can raise a family there, and my family can grow, and I can still afford to live there. And
Well, one option could potentially be that, going back a very long ways, the Midwest has always been a hub of communication. You look at what Offutt is the communication hub of the military, and it's here in this area, Bellevue, but for a reason. And communication, I think, and it's where I make my living.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, you talked about uh, a need for the community to be able to have a voice. And I don't think that need has gone anywhere. I do think that the companies that historically were providing that service that aren't anymore stopped seeing it, but I see it. I talk to people and I see that smaller communities, and you and I have talked about it before. Council Bluffs is a smaller community. We got a large population,
Right.
but I think there should be a sign outside of town that says Council Bluffs, the biggest small town in Iowa.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it. And
Yep.
because that's the feel that is here. And if we can continue to grow that particular industry to bring back the coverage of the really zeroing in on the high school sports, or we've got a wonderful college that just keeps winning one national championship after another, and the different industries here and the small businesses, and to encourage them, and this is such a wonderful community for nonprofits,
Yeah.
that we support nonprofits here and give back all of these different things. The need to talk about these things is still there,
Yeah.
and this medium and others like it, to me, is the future. That's where things are headed.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you being on the tip of the spear in our area for it is awesome. So hopefully people see that and take advantage, and it continues to grow. So
It is, and I'm grateful for the encouragement. You've always, going way back to when you first came in and was a guest on a different podcast a long time ago, back when it was just audio. You've always been very encouraging, and I think that we need people like that, encouraging others, encouraging new industry, encouraging the small entrepreneurs to step out on their own. And we see the smaller communities are all growing now because
right,
young people, and for the most part it is young people, are saying, you know what, I can do this. I can do this in the community that I'm in. We've got new coffee shops in Underwood. We have them in Neola, the bakery in Avoca, in Trainer. There's new small businesses coming in, all of these different places, and that's where growth happens. And
yeah.
we're seeing it. It's Southwest Iowa. I'm really optimistic on what's happening around here now.
I was just going to say that there's an optimism brewing here, and especially with the young folks, where
Mhm.
they feel like, okay, I can make a difference. I can make something happen here, and that's great because I think for a long time that wasn't there. But you know, whether it's just an advent of, everybody thought that you had to have a 4-year college degree before you could ever be successful. I think the mindset has shifted. I think college degrees are great,
Mhm.
100%. I think they're you learn a lot. There's opportunity, but that's not for everybody. So I think there are some folks that are like, hey, I can do some other things, whether it be at the trades, or I've got a skill here that I can turn into a business, and seek education and other routes to learn what I need to know. All of that, I think, helps with the optimism, the success that we've seen in our community, like say with Iowa Western, what they do. I mean, I think Dan Kinney's running out of fingers to hold rings on with so many things that's going on over there. So no, I think there's a ton of optimism. We got to keep that momentum going, find that industry, and hopefully we can figure that out. And if there's ideas that some of those running for office in town can bring, whether they win or not, maybe those ideas can still,
Yeah.
get some legs and run with them, and that. And I've been a firm believer that nobody has all the ideas. So if we're sitting around a table, we have a meeting, here at the bank, or if it's a board or whatever, I want to hear from everybody because I certainly don't have all of the ideas. So somebody else bring ideas, and maybe that's not the one we run with, but that might spur an idea for somebody else. And so but that thought generation, that brainstorming is always, I think, important, an important part of the day. I try to brainstorm a little bit every day. Don't know why, if the time of year or what, but I've been getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning here, and just trying to think for a little while.
Hmm.
Have a little time to think. And uh, if Leo McIntosh, who was the old exec director of the Y, is watching this, get an early workout in. He's always been a proponent of early workouts. I've been trying to make sure that happens too. But you just get the mental juices flowing early in the morning, I think is good. And um, I try to tell my kids I don't believe that at this point, but maybe as they age, they'll figure that out. But I
Oh
think it's
yeah,
important.
I didn't. I knew everything when I was that age, and turns out I didn't. You know,
Right.
but I'm I'm thrilled that we have you here, Dave. That you are such a leader in this community, and also such a listener in this community. You want to hear the other ideas, and to be a sounding board for folks, whether it be there at Availa Bank or in some of the other areas where you've served. So grateful, as always, for your time. I think that these are the types of conversations that encourage me and energize me. So anytime that we can do that, I look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you need precision metal fabrication done right, look no further than Foxco Fabrication in Council Bluffs. From custom welding to large-scale manufacturing, bringing your ideas to life with expert craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology. So, if it's industrial, if it's commercial, custom fabrication, you know they're going to get the job done on time and built to last. Locally owned, proudly made in Council Bluffs. Visit foxcofab.com. And Service Master Restore by Schmader knows it can be hard to get back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke. And you may also be left with all sorts of questions about how to get your home or business back to normal. Service Master Restore by Schmader knows that they can restore your space by offering quality commercial and residential restoration services in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. That's Service Master Restore by Schmader. That's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for being a part of things. And thanks again to Dave Zimmerman from Availa Bank for being our guest. More to come this week. We've made it to the middle, and I'm looking forward to a very exciting day. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.